The thing that lights me up today is that all the 25 plus years of experience that I've had coaching and the other 10, 12 years of being an employee, I am now taking it and bottling it up into small bite-sized portions to make them available, the learning available to anyone.
Welcome to the Phase 4 podcast, inspired by Vishen Lakiani and Ajit Nawalkar, co-founders of EverCoach, a division of Vine Valley. In this podcast, we speak to coaches and creatives about where they were, where they are, and where they are going. This is an intersection of what we focus on expands, and your story is your superpower. My guest today is Alvin Day. He is a motivational speaker, and he has a story that is definitely his superpower. Today, we're going to try and help you in a bunch of different ways, and one of them is about where do you want to go? What's it going to take to get there? And I believe that Alvin has the tools and the answers to that and much more. And Alvin, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me, JP.
Yes, sir. I love your story. I feel like it resonates with my story. And I always just begin with sharing with our audience. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and how did you end up becoming a motivational speaker?
All right. Well, awesome. Now, in terms of protocol and good practices and politeness, it's never a good thing to start out by disagreeing with the host. But for the sake of interest and a little dynamism here, I've had that happen. I've been on television and they've introduced me as a motivational speaker, and I have spent my time saying that I'm not a motivational speaker. And I remember one guy saying, "What's wrong with that? Motivation is good." I'm saying, yes, it is good. But when I am motivated in some seminar and some speech and I feel like I could walk on water, and then I walk out and it's raining, I need to cover myself and the water is not so good. Or I go home and the bills are still there and the emails I'm afraid to answer are still there. The motivation tends to wear off for one reason, because it's externally induced. And so the work that I do in keynote speeches and coaching and so forth has to do with something very different. I tell my audience, I did not come here today to motivate you. I came here to disturb you. And they go, "What the heck?" Right?
Yeah.
And I say to you who are listening, my objective today is not to motivate you. My objective today is to disrupt your thinking and make you feel frustrated and bothered and troubled by everything in your life that is regular and ordinary and average and mediocre. To stimulate in you a certain sense of dissatisfaction that cannot be satisfied until you go, "I was born for more than this," okay? So now, when that happens, JP, and people feel dissatisfied and decide that they're going to do something about their lives, it motivates them, but it comes from them on the inside. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, totally apologize. Motivation gets you started.
No, it's not a need for an apology. I was actually playing with words by saying disagreeing with you, because I know how your thinking is and it's consistent with that. But that, I suppose that's the first quick response to your question. Who am I? I'm a deviant and a nonconformist who has a huge appetite for betterment and improvement and getting to the top of the mountain. I get bored easily, JP. When I do something that's wonderful, I enjoy it to the max. And then tomorrow I want something else, okay? And I'm grateful. And it's not that I don't appreciate the blessings that I have, but I believe that I cannot get out of bed in the morning without purpose. And when one purpose is fulfilled, it's time for another, something higher. So that's sort of what's back of my brain. Who am I? I am a child. If you ask me my age, I'm over 29 years old. That's my age. And I have yet to have anybody disprove that, okay? I'm just a kid who grew up. I grew up barefoot for the first 20 years of my life. Well, I mean, I had a pair of shoes to go to school and church. I grew up without electricity. I grew up without running water. I didn't have an inside toilet for 20 years of my life. And many people did not expect me to make it. Many people in my family had not made it. I had no heroes to look up to. other than from being decent, good people in terms of achievements in business and so forth. Some of my teachers, thank God, not all of them, some of my teachers did not expect me to make it. But the ones who did, man, I latched onto them. And I had a grandmother, because I didn't have mother or father around. I had a grandmother who changed my life by putting words into my head and into my heart. She said, man, you're so wonderful. Where did I get you from? You must have fallen from the skies. I believed her. She said, you're going to grow up to be a wonderful person. Just stay away from the bad kids. Do what I say. Trust in God. Study hard. Listen to what your teachers have to say. And even though the children may laugh at you and see you like as a caterpillar, don't worry about it, because you have wings inside. And if you do the right thing, your wings will come out. I believed her. So who am I? I'm somebody who was manufactured by the words of somebody else. Words changed my life. And today I have a business that's global, and the raw material and all the buildings get reduced to words. Isn't that amazing? Words.
It's so amazing. And it's amazing that it can happen the other way too, right? Caterpillar or butterfly. When we're little kids, we're very impressionable. And all it takes is a teacher to say the right or wrong thing. And that could end up changing your whole life. You see limiting beliefs all the time that people are like, where did that come from? Oh, well, when I was 6, my grade 2 teacher said this or whatever. And it's just like, whoa.
Yep. Yep. That's true. That's exactly right. Words are in the first book I wrote was If Caterpillars Can Fly, So Can I. You know, that resonating from my grandmother saying I have wings inside. And it talks about transformation. But there are 7 laws in that book that are universal. They don't change with time or technology. And I contend in that book with great conviction that the single greatest power that has been given to a human being is the power of word. W-O-R-D. There's nothing else as powerful. So long as you have breath and you're alive, yes? Because with words, we are understood. We understand others. We study. We get our degrees. We learn. We get training to get our jobs. We relate to others. Imagine if you couldn't study, you couldn't communicate, you couldn't relate to other people. What would your life be? Right. So the question is, how good are you at words? Have you taken it for granted? Do you abuse it? Do you understand the power of one word to change the life of one person? Has one word ever changed your life? And so when you say that, it resonates with me because that's the raw material of my business. And I have seen practical outcomes that are beyond measure. Look, by the way, when you talk about what I do, I'm not really a speaker, although I love keynote speaking. What I do now is I am an executive coach on leadership.
All right.
Yeah, the leadership happens to be disruptive and causes people to listen to words that shift them around, shift them from status quo to other places. But in my coaching of people, I have seen in businesses mere words that come out of my mouth lead a client to generate multiplied millions of dollars, to get people to get promotions and raises and change their lives. And I go, this is amazing. Just words.
Words. That's fascinating. As you're thinking about it, I'm like, just even humanity, like evolving, we couldn't fly to the moon or wherever if we didn't have the words. My old man passed away, but he used to do this. We're Irish, and he used to do this thing called a recitation. It's like a poem. But I seen him all my life. They would have parties, and one person would sing, and then the next, and then go around. And he would do these recitations, and just with words, bring a room of people to tears. And then also make them smile and just feel full, right? And then when you're saying, yeah, that words can make someone in a negotiation gain millions of dollars, it can make someone on the other side lose millions of dollars. It's just like, whoa, power of words. Leadership. I like that angle of executive leadership. I'm a positive psychology guy, but guys like Marshall Goldsmith, Marshall Rosenberg, Simon Sinek, the way they talk with their words and then bring it into leadership, that lights me up big time. So I'm glad we can talk about this.
Look, when you think about leadership, which I had never really used that term with any meaning, didn't even understand it at one point. But when I left my job at Procter & Gamble and started my business, I came to realize that if you're not leading, you're following. There's like no middle ground, okay? I mean, you take 100 meters dash, and if you're not number one, you're following the guy who is number one, right? And
Yeah.
I have subsequently developed a practice of coaching folks on a wide curriculum of leadership things that are not taught in schools. Now, leadership is really critical because when you are leading, and I don't mean just an organization, when you're a leader, it predisposes you to taking a few risks, to being open to change, to being the first one to try something and not be afraid of the naysayers. And it causes you to discover stuff that other people are waiting to prove that are right. Okay. And it is an incredible world to get to that space of being a leader. Now, the problem is, JP, leadership is not just something you decide to do. It comes out of working on yourself because risks can be very dangerous and they produce fear. But when you work on yourself and you get to the space of, you don't even have to call yourself a leader. You just get to the space of going, okay, I'm here for a reason. Yeah, this is what I want. This is my purpose. And you just go for it. Sometimes you have to break some people's rules. Yeah, hopefully not moral rules, but process rules. But you're going with total focus because it is up to you to change that situation. And the air is clean. It's amazing. You sleep well at night. And when risks come, you take them and you fall and you get up again. That's where yeah.
And you said at the beginning of that about risk too. Leaders take risks, but they also get the reward.
That's correct.
And
Correct.
so you can follow, but you're not going to get what you want. And so I believe that most of our listeners, they're into leadership. They are leaders. They feel like they were born for something more, but some of them maybe don't know what that is, what it looks like, how to get to it.
Yeah.
When we're talking about words, I can't also help but think about reading, like books. These are the words. Get a highlighter. The word you don't know, highlight it, go back and look at it. But the more books I read, people are like, oh, you're so smart. You can talk so well. I'm not that smart. I just read a lot of books.
Yeah. JP, smartness is overrated.
Yeah.
The way we define it. I have two friends who are PhDs, husband and wife. I have to be careful because now I'm in trouble if they hear what I'm about to say. Oh, gosh. And there are times in their lives when they can't pay their bills, $100 phone bill. Why? Because to be smart, by the way, one of my friends has never, ever gotten a B from high school except once, and it nearly killed him. All A plus, A plus, A plus, PhD all the way.
Wow.
And I listened to this person, and this person's thinking, although educated, is not hopeful and courageous and brave and strong and purpose-driven. And subsequently, between the two of them who are incredibly smart. Yeah. So here's the deal. Based upon my conversation with you, I suspect that there are people listening to us who by self-definition are classified as intelligent people with degrees, with education and so forth. And I also suspect, based on what you just said a while ago, that some of them are at a distance from their dreams and hopes and aspirations. And I want to shatter the myth that the smarter you are, the more likely it is that you should succeed. Sometimes it works the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. I have two friends, by the way. I have two friends. I talk about friends, and now I have to keep them a little more nondescript so I don't get in trouble. One of them is extremely brilliant, mesmerizingly brilliant. The other one is kind of, okay in terms of grammar and so forth and so forth. And the brilliant one is detail-oriented, controlling, picky, spends a long time to make decisions, risk-averse. And the one who doesn't have as much education is gregarious and outgoing and speaks his piece even with bad grammar. And here's what the present result is. The smart one is struggling to pay his bills right now. He's about to lose his house and had lost his car, got it back. The other one, who is not as brilliant, just picked up one day and moved to another continent and started a business and is making millions.
Yeah.
And a happy person, it's not all about money. It's a happy person who's fulfilled that every day is an adventure. And I'm like, doggone. Smartness doesn't work against you. You know too much and it impedes you because you can't throw everything away and just focus on one thing. You're considering too many variables. Go for it. Find your purpose. Go for it. And then you can always come back after you succeed on that purpose and pick up another one. But sometimes smart can work against you.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people are just more open and suggestible, and it works because they're not expecting it to be a certain way, or the logic and reasoning doesn't exist for them. And it's sometimes more adventurous and a fun way to do it.
Yeah.
I think Procter and Gamble, you said 10 years, right? So what kind of things did you learn there that you can take out of there and that you're putting in your coaching now?
Yeah. Well, look, for a little barefoot boy from nowhere, I was indoctrinated and shocked into the ways of big business, and it was an incredible experience. I understood things about business that most businesses don't know from working for a Fortune 50 company. They had to put up with my ways. I had learned hard. At Procter& Gamble, I learned that business is simple. It is a matter of delivering value and delivering excellence to fulfill the promise of value. And then all the other things like the marketing and the production and so forth that would go with it. But I learned that the world is run by business. You want a good doctor? Medicine is a business, okay? You want a good teacher? Education is a business. What do you mean? Well, you have business and you have educational sector. No. But if the education does not have a way to sustain itself, to pay the bills, to pay for the students going to school, or the rent to keep the lights on, the education doesn't work. If the doctor doesn't have enough income stream to make things work, it doesn't work. So business rocks. And to learn business has taught me a concept called value, which I have now been able to relate to my coaching on leadership. You asked me a question that has a deep answer. I believe that one of the reasons why intelligent people are frustrated and overwhelmed with life is because their education has not taught them a particular principle. And that principle is value. You know, we have a lot of knowledge, a lot of information and so forth, but sometimes our hard drive is so jammed up, we need to defrag it and get rid of some files, you know? To understand value comes in two flavors. One, we need to have intrinsic value. We must be valuable people. We must have valuable knowledge. Inherently and intrinsically, it's good to understand physics. It's a good thing, or it's a thing that's worthwhile. We need to be good people of integrity who others can trust. That's intrinsic value. But a lot of smart people have intrinsic value in terms of their knowledge and even being good people on the inside, and they struggle with life because they've not been taught economic value. And a lot of my coaching is if you want economic value, how do you convert intrinsic value into economic value? Now, this is the rub that we have not been taught generally. If you look at intrinsic value, it's fairly objective, okay? Physics is a thing, integrity can be measured to some degree. But economic value is very subjective. It's perceptual. People pay for something what they want to pay for something. And so if we are going to succeed, in other words, intrinsic value, while it's not easy, is something that's more kind of tangible and validated.
Everyone agrees on it almost.
Yeah, you can agree on how to measure it, but economic value now says, do I understand what my customer wants, desires? And do I have the ability to communicate that value so that they can appreciate the intrinsic value that my life represents? We've not been taught the language of communicating value. And when we learn that, high school education and college degrees are wonderful. I'm not against them. But they shouldn't stop there. They should say, how do I configure all of this now so it represents value that people are willing to pay for?
Right. Yeah, I agree. I think school's great, right? But it also it teaches you how to be a worker almost, some of it. And
Yeah. I mean, don't get me started on that. There's a whole thing about how the education system is designed. And by the way, I have 2 college degrees, okay? So I'm not against it. I'm glad I got them. But
yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm looking at the list of you got here. So caterpillars can fly, so can I. That's a good one. How about going for gold or persuasion power? Can we talk about either of those?
Ooh. Well, look, let's talk about persuasion power. This is, you talked about, I talked about the first one. Persuasion Power is a book that teaches you how to get people to say yes to you without having to be pushy or aggressive. So you think about the salesman who kind of manipulates people into saying yes, and then they have buyer's remorse. No. It is a dangerous book because it teaches you a little bit about how the human mind works and what it wants. JP, the thing that lights me up today is that all the 25 plus years of experience that I've had coaching and the other 10, 12 years of being an employee, I am now taking it and bottling it up into small bite-sized portions to make them available, the learning available to anyone, because oftentimes people say to me, Mr. Day, I'd like to come to one of your seminars or your coaching sessions, but you have to belong to Valvoline or Procter & Gamble or something to get into one of those places. But now anybody who wants it can have access to it because we're bottling it up. So now I'm coming back to persuasion power, right? And to word. Persuasion power is teaching people how to communicate so that they have value, so that people will want what they have and even be willing to pay for it. And in order for me to communicate this to folks, I have started a 30-day challenge, and I have a 90 days of personal coaching that I do with people in groups and teaching them every single thing I know, from coaching to leadership to the, if caterpillars can fly, so can I, personal transformation, to how to sell an idea. And the remarkable thing about it is, while this 30-day challenge is under the umbrella of public speaking and speaking on camera, it is an opportunity to help people to develop their lives. Because when you want something, it means you don't have it yet, right? You know, you're desiring something, you're going after it, you don't have it yet. Yeah. Now, if you don't have it yet, where is it? Usually it's in the possession of other people. Money, recognition, companionship. You know, if you want dirt, okay, it's anywhere, right? But we don't have to want that. In fact, every day we bathe it off, we wash it off. So if you want something of value, usually the highest level things are in the possessions of other people. And if they're in the possessions of other people and you don't know how to communicate your desire to them, you won't get it. You see the line of logic?
Yeah.
So we think it's our skill. Yeah. But if you don't know how to communicate to others, you won't get what you want. So persuasion power teaches you what buttons need to be pushed. And may I share one little example to you of something very most powerful? If you want people to say yes to you, don't go tell them how exciting and wonderful it is, the thing that you want. Find their pain. Find what causes them to hurt or to fear or to feel stress and pressure, and connect the solution to that pain or pressure to what you want to sell them or what you want to persuade them about. Persuasion is more powerful when you go after solving people's pains or helping people to get rid of their pains than when you go to give them pleasure. Pain is a greater motivator than pleasure is. Right. And so that book is about, and this is what we keep, one of the things we keep coaching people on. If you want economic value, find what hurts and figure out a way to make that pain go away. People will pay for that.
Yeah, we call it problem, pain, solution. Find out the problem, figure out what pain is the problem causing them, and then come up with a solution. And hey, man, if you can fix my problem and my pain, I'll pay you lots. I just need you to help me get rid of it if I can't. Yeah. I love this, man. Man, there's so many ways we could go. I'm wondering, leaders, because I do love leadership, but what are like some common blind spots you see in leaders? Like, how do you help them to uncover it and correct those? And we've touched on some of those ideas, but I'm sure you've got lots.
I'm thinking now about the leadership curriculum that I have and the biggest blind spots that I've seen in my leaders in corporate. And right now, the answer jumps to me even as I speak. Sometimes we think about success and leadership and personal power as a sort of energy field that makes us impregnable and foreboding and, solid and strong and so forth. And yes, all of that is true. But if you want true leadership that's sustainable, that keeps your relationships intact and makes people want to follow you, because I make a distinction between need and want, okay? Need is a survivalist requirement. Want is desire and it's emotional, yes? If you want leadership that makes people want to follow you, it is not about being strong and powerful and foreboding and having titles and authority and, pushing. There is a concept I have discovered that is almost infallible and based on every time I've seen it exercised with some skill. And I'm going to write about this. I'm going to write a book about this. It's called The Vulnerability Strategy. The Vulnerability Strategy. And here's how the vulnerability strategy works. I was doing a seminar one time and I called 2 strong men to come to the front. And I said, okay, guys, I have an exercise for you. Relax, it won't hurt you. I want you to be A and I want you to be B. A, I want to put up your hand here. B, I want you to put your hand here. Okay. Now clasp your hands. So you have these two powerful guys. And I said, okay, when I count to three, A, here's your instruction. When I count to three, I want you to push. Okay. Are you guys ready? Yes. 1, 2, 3. I said, stop. Like I said, let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. I said, stop. I said, B, did I tell you to resist? I said, no. I said, why did you resist? Because it was pushing on me. I said, really? Okay. Well, I didn't give you that instruction. Let's do it again. Next time when I count 1, 2, 3, A, I want you to push. B, I don't want you to do anything. I didn't give you any instructions. Don't do anything. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Bam. Okay, so let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. Bam. I said, stop. A, let's do a debrief. You just had two experiences where you had an outcome. The first one, you struggled with it. It was hard. You had to fight. The second one, you did it 2 times, 3 times in a row. Which one of them was more satisfying to you? And to a person, I've done it repeatedly in groups. What do you think A chooses?
First one? He takes
First
the second one.
He chooses the first one, the hard one. I'm going, wait a minute, that's crazy. You have an
Why
objective.
is that human nature?
Yeah, I'm going, why would you be satisfied with the one that gave you more trouble and more pressure? Here's what A says. Well, the second one felt like, I didn't really accomplish anything. It's like, the first one, I felt like I was making a difference. And I said, bingo. Here is, and this is the essence, the answer to your question in terms of leadership. With this vulnerability strategy, you can rob people of the satisfaction of resisting you.
Wow. Wow. That's brilliant.
Listen, I've written about this. I've talked about this. People tell me they've used it to talk their way out of speeding tickets, getting people to say yes to things that they wouldn't otherwise say yes to, make an exception to the rule, break the policy. It is phenomenal.
So that's just like human nature, is they they expect some kind of resistance, or they want it, or like, I don't even get it.
I'm reading a book right now that has a quote I wrote down, something to the effect that, here it is, when you resist nothing, nothing resists you.
Oh yeah, that sounds like some Tao Te Ching or something like that.
Right? And now, certainly you have to establish some caveats and make some exceptions. If you see evil, you need to fight it. There's a time for everything. Yes?
Yes, sir.
With the exception of things that break our worldview and violate our integrity, when you are resisting, you're immediately encountering resistance. Yes? Look, I was pulled over by a policeman. And I broke 3 laws. I was speeding and I overtook on the side where there was a solid line and something else he threw at me. And so he said, sir, you know how fast you were going? And then you realize you broke 3 laws. And I said to him, officer, you're right. You're right. I am absolutely wrong. And you're right for stopping me. And he was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I said, yeah, okay, so give me your driver's license. And I took my time giving him the driver's license just to get this through to his head. And I said, officer, my wife told me that I needed to slow down. And the fact that I'm going to the city to a meeting is not your fault. I need to slow down for my own preservation and the safety of people on the road. And he was like, yeah. Okay. And he's waiting for the driver's license. So I give him the driver's license and say, officer, you're doing your job. You've given me 3 different violations. I want you to throw the book at me. Give me the steepest fine you can, because I really need to mend my ways. And I could see him like shifting and like not knowing what to do. And it's like, oh, okay. And he stood there talking to me instead of even looking at my driver's license. He spoke to me for 5 minutes, just trying to find things out about me. And every time he pushed, I did not resist. And finally, then he said to me, look, you have 3 violations there. Which one of these should I give you? Iron. Whoa, he's taking it from 3 to 1. Okay.
Wow.
And I said to him, officer, give me the steepest one. I deserve this. I need to go home to my wife, egg on my face. The end result was he gave me back my driver's license and told me to slow down and drive safely. Now, here's what happened. I know this. That's why I did it. In police school, they do not train them to deal with compliance. They train them to deal with resistance. how to bend people's arms behind their back when they don't want to be handcuffed, how to prove that they're right when they're arguing with you, how to grab them by the shoulder and push them into a car. They never train them on how to deal with compliance. And I was compliant, and it was like, bam, it was like, I'm not feeling it here. There's no satisfaction. And I robbed that policeman of the satisfaction of executing his authority training on me because nothing was sticking. And he got no emotional joy out of it.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? Now, does it work for policeman? No, nothing works for everybody. You get a new cop, the cop's going to give you the ticket anyway. But the point is, the preponderance of behavior, the general case is when people do not get satisfaction from resisting you, they're still looking for satisfaction. So what's the point?
Persuasive power.
Yeah.
So I saw this guy one time when I was young. I was in court, and there was this young kid. He didn't have a lawyer, and the judge is like, he keep coming back, come back again, come back again. And the guy just went to the judge and he said, look, and he was all by himself, like maybe 18 years old. And he's like, Your Honor, I can't just keep coming back. I want to get on with my life. I'm really sorry for what happened. Just do whatever you have to do. Give me the sentence. I don't care how big it is. I just need to get this past me and get it behind me so I can move on with my life. And the judge, exactly like that, he was stunned. He didn't know what to do. And he let him walk right out. He didn't give him anything. But I got this here. This is a mask. I was looking for a hair tie because it's a much better example, but this is resistance, right? So if you pull back on it, your intention. And this is where you want to go ahead. And this is where you are right now. In order to go forward, you need to release the tension and then you go fly forward ahead.
Yeah.
I don't know if that helps.
Oh, it certainly does, because how many people do you know? And maybe there's some on your podcast, I don't know, with due respect, who live their lives like this. Tense, overwhelmed, cautious about everything, afraid, and it's like, and we talk about stress. That's what that is, a manifestation of this tension. And to release it gives you freedom, at least gives you access to freedom. That's what you're talking about. You let it go, and the very tension that you had will propel that thing forward.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's counterintuitive, isn't it?
It's nuts. I facilitate groups for chronic pain, anxiety, depression, and the tension you're talking about. People show up, and I'm just like, I can see it that you're not breathing. Like, you need to breathe, and it's the same way you're saying, but you need to release that tension, and then you'll feel better, like immediately. So we could go with that forever, but I think the 30-day challenge is really interesting because it sounds to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, that by the 30 days, you become someone different. Like, you're trying to be a thing and you want this thing, but the 30 days is actually like not proof, but it's you're becoming that thing. So it's not just a book that you're reading, you actually end up becoming something else.
Yes. In fact, here's how it works. Well, they say in our field that it takes 28, 30 days to create a habit or to break a habit. So that's a really good marker if you do it consistently. Here's what I did. I went through, like you asked me about what's the most outstanding thing in all the leadership, and I was looking for something. I came up with vulnerability strategy. Now, I took all the leadership work that I've done, and a company will hire me for a whole year for 12 different subjects monthly to teach their senior executives that they don't know. They didn't get taught in school. But I took all of that, and I have 2 years worth of that, and I said, which of these subjects is most highly correlated to personal growth and development? And I came up with public speaking because of what I've seen. When I do a 2-day public speaking course, it has immediate effect on behavior and thinking. I mean, I was at the Valvoline company in Lexington, Kentucky, and a senior executive came to me at break and said, Alvin, I have now this is a Jamaican guy trying to imitate the way they talk in Lexington, Kentucky. He said, Alvin, I got my annual meeting coming up in a month. And I just called my secretary, told her to put it off because I got to change everything based on what I learned today. Wow. No, in Lexington, they speak fast. They don't speak fast like Jamaicans. So I got to slow my brain down a bit so that it's not confusing, right? What am I saying to you? I'm saying that I have never seen a course that I've done or any I've attended that has a more immediate impact on personal power and purpose and passion than public speaking. So you ask me about this challenge. Here's what is being done. We're using confidence on camera. It's called Fearless on Camera, as a sort of personal development course disguised as public speaking. Because think about this, JP. If you have somebody who's scared stiff about public speaking or mediocre, and sooner or later that person makes a transition to being able to stand in front of a camera or on a stage in front of an audience with total calm and speak with poise and power and passion, looking them in the eye and riveting home the truth, not just to their heads, but to their hearts, so they can feel it in their belly even. It is impossible, and I dare anybody to prove this wrong. It is impossible for someone to move from that state of very negative or mediocre to that position of public speaking where you're not worried about yourself. You're just a pure conduit of value without changing your life. You have to affect your confidence, your clarity, your communication skills, your sense of being, your belief about other people before you can stand in front of an audience this way. Why? Because when you stand in front of that camera or in front of that audience, you're totally vulnerable. You talk about vulnerability, okay? If you're scared, they know. If you make a mistake, they hear it. If you flinch and scratch your nose, they see it. And so it is a very threatening to be under the hot lights or appear in front of a camera and still maintain your poise. And when things go wrong, you're frustrated and you apologize, and they see it all. So what I'm doing is I'm giving a free personal coaching for not just the 30 days, which is a challenge separate, but for 90 days, I am taking people weekly and doing live sessions with them where they're practicing the principles of that 30-day course. And then I'm talking about their confidence, their clarity, how they put things logically, how they are empathetic for the audience, what is it that they're talking, and all of that stuff is just causing their lives to go, oh my gosh. And I love it. I love it.
I love it too, man. Public speaking is, I think it's a study, like some people would rather die than do a speech publicly, which is crazy. But the guy asked me, how do you know if your speech landed? And I said, if you can make people laugh or cry, you're on the right track.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really personal development, but when you're done, you can speak your truth with power and not be second guessing yourself. And we teach everything from how to organize your thoughts, how to fix your belief system, how to do lighting, how to do audio, how to do your background, how to make eye contact and not be reading, the slides over here instead of talking to the people directly. We cover it all in little bite-sized portions, day after day after day. By the end, people are different. That's what they're telling me. They're totally different, not just in public speaking, but how they see themselves and how they hit. Yeah.
Probably their word choice too, right? By the end, they're saying speaking with different words, and it goes back to words again.
That's correct.
As we begin to wind down, if this episode resonates with you, please like, subscribe, share, reach out to Alvin. I know a lot of you guys are moving from coaching and it expands out in towards public speaking. So Alvin, just even go check out his website. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about, but he's the guy you want. And Alvin, I ask everyone this question. This is the Phase 4 podcast and Phase 4 in the 6 phase meditation by Vishen Lakhiani. It's all about creating your future 3 years out. So where is Alvin Day 3 years from today?
Right. 3 years from today, I will have set enough financial resources in place so I don't have to be even concerned about what services I sell and how much I sell. And I am showing up every couple of weeks or every week even in a prison somewhere, in a home for the disadvantaged somewhere, in an abused children's place somewhere, and driving them to distraction, beating them up hard, okay? Not motivating them, but beating them up hard. 3 years from now, I am well set. I've made a lot of money, losing a lot of money and being capricious with my money. But I have myself set up in a place where I don't have to worry about that. Look, there are people in this world who are genius, but life has been hard on them and they've made bad decisions and they end up behind bars or in some home without anybody caring about them. And those people still have the raw material of a caterpillar that can still become a butterfly. And I walk into the places and I talk to them I don't hold back. You have to understand, I was born without the expectation to make it. My mother wasn't there. My father wasn't there. No electricity, no running water, no inside toilet for 20 years. I studied fifth form high school by lamplight. Teachers who didn't expect me to make it came and apologized to me after high school where I got some of the best grades in the school. I know what it's like to have a life of indignity and nobody believing in you except for one grandmother who gave me words. Yes. And so when I stand in front of people who are complaining about life and the government and prison system, I don't take that for an answer. I was in the West Palm Beach County Jail. You're getting too wired up now, okay? I was in the West Palm Beach County Jail giving a speech like I did every 6 weeks or so. Scary place, okay? They lock like 8 gates behind you. Okay? You're in the heart of the thing. And on one of those occasions, a young man named Curtis, 38-year-old, 5'4", Caucasian young man, he said to me at the end, he said, "Mr. Day, I want to thank you." I said, "You're welcome." And there were some guys gathering around me. He said, "Last time you were here, you saved somebody's life." I thought, "Oh, that's cool." He said, "No, you don't understand. I was going to kill a man, and something you said hit me in my stomach, and I called my friend and put off the hit." Now, you talk about goosebumps. Look.
Yeah, got him.
Yeah. Yeah. So you asked me what I'm doing in 3 years. I'm doing that stuff of bringing hope and challenge and power to people who are marginalized, who society tends to forget about. Look, I met another prisoner one night when he just came out of jail, and he begged me for some money. I gave him $5. Then I said to him, "What are you doing at the train station, asking for money?" He said he just got out of jail, and he told me a story. I believe that. I said, "Give me back my $5. He fished in his pocket, gave it back to him. I gave him $20, and I said, "Meet me here tomorrow night. I'm going to bring you some clothes and some stuff. Because you seem like you're sorry for yourself, and you have no idea what you just were given. You were given freedom. What the heck? You should be happy." And I began to teach that young man, and man, he brought me to the halfway house. I was doing stuff with them all the time. And that young man grew up to start a limousine company and had a business thriving. And I thought, man, what a thing. What a thing it is to give birds. So when I do this 30-day challenge with this personal coaching over weeks, this is what I'm looking in people's eyes and saying, man, you have no excuse. Until the day you die, you should be living up to some high purpose that gives you passion to get out. What is the thing about sorry for yourself? I had been sorry for myself, and I kicked myself and get out of it after a little while. So yeah, that's my 3-5 years from now. That's what I'm doing.
That's beautiful. So what I heard in that answer mostly was it's giving back. And I think it was MLK Jr. had a quote. It says, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?"
Yeah.
And this over money or anything else, fame, this is going to fill your cup more than anything.
Yeah.
Giving back. And I remember I used to be that victim. I used to be that guy. And I heard this word abundance. And I'm like, I want some of that. That sounds cool. But how? And I couldn't figure it out. So I started by donating blood. And you're talking about someone saving someone's life. You have blood in your body and you could give it away and you could save someone's life. Like, so simple, right? And it then it's a trickle effect. It's like you're tipping the scales, like with that guy from jail, right? You said he needed the money and the support. He also needed someone to believe in him. And you come along and believe in him.
Yeah. In the speaker circle, which is what we call this weekly thing that we do for 3 months, that doesn't cost them anything. In the speaker circle, I have somebody right now who doesn't believe in herself. She's really talented, but she's going through some stuff. She's lost her son. She can't find him. And she's just like, "Oh my God." And I'm looking at her going, "Girl, you have no idea what you have. Come on, you can't be sorry for yourself. Look, use your talent. You have knowledge. You have the ability to articulate your thoughts. Come on, sit up straight. Get your lighting right. Exude confidence. Speak your truth." And she's just like going like this. She's just coming out like a flower. It's amazing. And she talks about it more than I do. And that's where my passion lies. There are people listening to you right now, JP, who have their education, who have even maybe have money, but they're dissatisfied with life. And some of them are looking for a magic pill. It doesn't work that way. First of all, give me 30 days and I can build up some real resources, but give me this 30 days or 90 days and I'm going to hold you accountable for getting up every day, not procrastinating, getting out of bed with purpose, looking at what's wrong with the world and trying to fix yourself first, and then having something to contribute to others, and give you a body of principles that took a barefoot nobody from nowhere to a point where I am now able to travel around the world. I have 2.5 million miles that I've accumulated on Delta. People meet me in China and take my luggage and put me up in the best hotel downtown Shanghai, and they take notes, and I talk through a translator. This is not a brag. This is a marvel. How does an ugly caterpillar average little creature on a tomato vine, get to the point where wings start coming out, you start going, oh my gosh, life is amazing. Next week, my wife and I are on this Sunday. We're on a plane to go to an island in the Caribbean to spend 10 days of doing nothing but eat and sleep. Why? Because I would listen, I was able to do a little of this, and the resort gave me free days to take my wife because it didn't give me money. And then when I get back 2 days later, I'm going on a boat into the Atlantic Ocean for 3 days where there's no Wi-Fi to catch yellowtail snappers and tuna fish and all kinds of crazy stuff. Am I bragging? Again, I say to you, no. I am living at a place where others who look at me would never believe possible of freedom and hope and purpose. And I know it's possible for every single person listening to my voice, but you can't do it overnight. You need somebody to hold you accountable. You need somebody to inspire you. You need somebody to make you dissatisfied with the status quo. And that's what lights me up.
Yeah, I can tell, man. That lights me up too.
So, yes. Yeah, go ahead.
I was telling you before we came on now, I went to Jamaica in March and I lost my cell phone the second I got there. And I was so happy. We were sitting on the beach and there's just people all just sitting there with this beautiful view and they're all like this on their phone. I'm like, oh man. But yeah, it totally comes down to just giving back. What do you want to contribute to the world? And Mind Valley has a tool, the 3 most important questions. And the 3 most important questions are, and this is your vision board for life. What do I want to experience? How do I want to grow? And what do I want to contribute? And if you could fill in all those details for every category, man, that's a good vision board for life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before I ask my final question, I always let the guests take it wherever they want. So if you have something to sell it, a message of hope or inspiration, or if you want to mix it all together, take it away, Alvin Day.
Yeah. Okay. This is what you've heard and experienced here today is one little simple little boy's view of life. I don't have all the answers, but I have answers. Okay. And if you're looking for answers to your life, I'm not a guru. I am a human being held accountable to my own words. My wife says to me, you can't say that to me. And I said, why? She said, because you wrote in your book that you're not supposed to say that. So, I'm having to live up to my own principles. Okay. I'm not some kind of guru. I'm a human being. I was clinically depressed one time when we lived in West Palm Beach. Really, really depressed for 15 minutes. It's not a joke. It's another story for another time, but I looked at a rock in my garden and realized that long after I'm dead, the rock is still going to be here and it doesn't wake up early. And it depressed me and made me question everything. So I went through deep depression. The thing was, I knew how to get out of it. It didn't last for more than 15 minutes. And I've subsequently used it to make money, to tell people, teach people resilience. So when you ask me, what do we have to sell? This is not from some guy who has a solution to all your problems. This is from a guy who knows that every single thing in your life that has happened to you that is bad can be turned around for good. And when I invite you, because I'm not even going to invite you to buy anything, I'm going to say, if you want to be held accountable to these and other related principles, come join my group for free. Take a test of what we do. Because I have certain beliefs that have been proven to be right. And here's one of them. You're going through challenges in your life. Until the day I die, nothing I go through can possibly kill me. I'm going to live.
Yeah.
So this is who I am. I dare anybody to refute that. Until you die, nothing can kill you. So knowing that, I'm going to live as if life is fine. And with that resiliency and that robustness and that reaction to difficulties, you can become anything that you choose to do. So all I'm going to do here is to suggest that if you want to test drive and see what we do, can I put a thing in the chat here? Just a link?
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
We'll put all your links in the show notes too.
Yeah, that's great. So in the chat, I just put the 30-day challenge link, which includes this group. There's a group that you come to every Sunday night, except I'm going to be vacation this week. But every Sunday night, and I go through these principles and I talk to people about how to speak your truth and develop themselves. So that's it. Now, if you were interested in the book, Persuasion Power, I don't know if I have any more in print at the moment, but it's on Amazon. If you're interested in the book of personal transformation, this one will disturb your belly. It's on Amazon as well. Go look at the ratings on Amazon for this thing. This is the kind of stuff that caused Curtis to change his mind about killing a man. And what's the name of the young lady, Brenda, about killing herself.
Right.
So again, I'm not selling. I'm just saying if you just want to learn more, go to Amazon, type in Alvin Day. You'll see a couple of things there. But most of all, and I'll wind down with this. I'm a businessman. I'm here to make money. I got to take home bread and milk to my family. But there are 1,000 ways to do that. I hope you, like me, have found a way in your life to do something that takes care of you and lights up your world. Makes you get out of bed in the morning and go, man, I got these 3 things I want to get to. I got to read my email. I got to do this, but I got these 3 things I have to get to. And it makes you wide-eyed and embrace life and suck in oxygen. And I wake up like that. And I'm like, man, what an amazing life. And if you have discouragement and negativity and uncertainty and insecurity and imposter syndrome, man, you don't want to step into my space because I'm going to stick your hand in the electric water and go, what are you talking about? Do you realize? No, you got me all wired here, JP. Look, listen, I want to prove to you that as bad as things can get for you in your life, there are millions and probably, I'm sure, billions of people in the world who are praying to God just to get up to your level, to be you. Just to have the ability to sit up straight and talk and listen for 45 minutes. There are people in the world who are begging God and eternity and the horoscope and anything just to get up to your level. Now, here's the deal. When you come to recognize the irrefutable fact that you are the answer to the prayers of billions of people, what room do you have to complain and be dissatisfied? Do you understand? You are the answer to people's prayers.
Wow. That's powerful.
Now, if
Right?
I grew up in Beverly Hills and had money and my father picking me up from the football game in a Mercedes-Benz, I would have no right to talk about this because my path would have been privileged and paved. I came from nothing in the dirt. Listen, JP, when I was in my mother's belly, my uncle told my mother, you should be ashamed of yourself. Why don't you have an abortion and spare us of the shame? Because I grew up in a conservative Christian family where being pregnant at 16 years old was not the thing. Okay, so my problem started long before I came out. My mother ran away, had this little boy, ran to a place in a foreign country called America, and I didn't have mother or father around. So I'm not talking from some high privileged position. I know what it's like to be in the dirt and look up to the heavens and grow wings and go, oh man, what an amazing thing it is to fly above the trees. And every person here has that ability. You have no excuse at all for mediocrity or negativity when you can breathe and move. Come see me and I'll mess with your thinking in that group. That's what I'll do.
That's great. And that's why I started off by saying your story's your superpower. I totally believe that for every seed of bad that we think happened, there's a seed of good in there, and it's up to us to harvest it. So your story is your superpower. And the other one is what we focus on expands. So you can have the same thing, right? 2 guys come back from a war. Both have broke no legs, right? One guy wants to kill himself. The other guy's so happy he's home. What's the difference? Whatever you focus on expands.
Yeah.
So my final question is, how can people reach you? Which you kind of told us, but I think there's a couple other ways too.
Got it. All right. So one simple way is go to my website and go to contact us. Yeah, contact us at www.alvinday.com. Let me type it in, www.alvinday.com. ALVINDAY.com and go to contact us. And then you can say whatever you want to ask a question. But in that place, just put the word confident, and I will give you information about this speaker circle and 30-day challenge and so forth. I'm already giving you the link to the 30-day challenge. But if you just want to come and be a part of our weekly thing, that'd be great. So just go to alvinday.com and type in confident or ask a question, and I will look out for you and respond to you. That's it.
Amazing. Alvin, I'm so grateful for your time today. This was awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, and by the way, I made an error by leaving something out. Don't forget that when you go to my website and say confident or say whatever you do, put an email or phone number in there, because that's the only way now we'll be able to get back to you. But just send us an email and we'll address your questions.
Perfect. And let them know that you heard him on the Phase 4 podcast, and I'm sure he would like to know that. Alvin, again, I'm just really grateful. Thank you so much. This was awesome.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for the time. And I am so proud of you for what you're doing. You may not know it, but you're actually saving some folks' lives whom you might never meet, either from physical death or from emotional death or spiritual death. You stand as a leader, bringing words and voices of hope to people, and you have no idea where it goes, but people are benefiting from it. And continue to do the good work.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.